Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a brand new live edition of Dodgers Territory. We are your hosts. That is Clint Pasillas. I am Alanna Rizzo. We are taking you through the next 30 minutes, all Dodgers, all of the time. Thank you so much for being here. Please rate us 5 stars, like and subscribe, smash that like button, all the things on YouTube and anywhere that you get your podcast. We will be joined shortly by Dodgers pitching coach Mark Prior. Lots to talk about with Mark Prior. So thanks to the former Trojan for joining us today. Clint, let's get to the big ticket.
Let's do it.
All right. Until Juan Soto signs someplace, we're going to have to continue to talk about Juan Soto. I don't think, though, that Juan Soto is going to be in Pantone 294 Dodger Blue, nor should he, because I just think that the price is too high. Clint, from what you're hearing, what you're talking about in all of your conversations, is that pool too deep? Is it too much as far as that is concerned? The Dodgers not going to chase Soto.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dodgers have kind of made it not obvious. You'll never hear the Dodgers actively say something about a free agent, of course. However, right. Agents talk to people, yada, yada. I don't see the Dodgers going to the stratosphere that Juan Soto and Scott Boras are looking for. The report, Mets willing to go up to $660 million. To add that onto the pile that they already owe to Shohei Ohtani for the next decade, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Mookie Betts, That's Freddie Freeman for a few more years. Yeah, they are going to be used in conversations, guys. And look, I am not an insider. We are not experts in this. However, I speak Dodgers very well, and I look at reality pretty decently. The Dodgers are going to be used. We're going to hear about the Dodgers being in. Same we're hearing with the Dodgers maybe being in on Corbin Burns. The Dodgers are going to be used a lot this offseason because teams know they want to run it back. They got all the money in the world. Allegedly, they print money. I just don't see them going to those highest echelon free agents. What do you think about the Soto situation?
Yeah, I mean, the last I checked, he wasn't a two-way player, right? He's not Shohei Ohtani 2.0. I mean, Shohei's a two-way player. Shohei Ohtani is an international superstar. He puts butts in seats. He's going to make a lot of money for the Guggenheim Group, and good for Guggenheim, right? Like, nobody gets into this business to lose money. They put their money where their mouth is, and Shohei Ohtani has already paid dividends. Juan Soto's just not that guy. I just don't think we need to spend that type of dollar amount, that type of figure on just a right fielder or just a DH. So my point is, I don't think they go for him. I think we move on, right? Like Jen had even said in the chat next, and yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about people that are actually Dodgers already, right? So Brusdar Graterol, it was announced that he had shoulder surgery. Clint, he's going to be out at least until the second half of 2025. How does this affect the way that they handle the bullpen this offseason? You and I talked about people we would love to see back. Blake Trinan is one of those guys that you and I would love to see back with the Los Angeles Dodgers as far as free agents are concerned. Does this make his role even more important, knowing that Brusdar is not going to be available for a big part of the year?
Yeah, I mean, Dave Roberts already had alluded on a podcast with Mookie Betts earlier this offseason. One guy he would like to have back is Blake Trinan, and I think, knowing now, guaranteed we know Brusdar Graterol is not going to be available for at least the first half of the season. You need to have some arms in there so you're not, killing people, or we're not having our pitchers' heads falling off of their shoulders and all this kind of stuff. You need some depth. You need some quality depth. Now, they could maybe backfill it with some guys currently already in the organization, the minor league level, maybe a Ben Kasparius type that we saw this year. I don't know that's a good role for a Brent Honeywell or whatever, but you need some help. You need, as I like to call them, grown-up help. In this case, more at the back end of the bullpen, because they survived without Brusdar, and hats off to him for pitching during the World Series with a labrum issue. The Dodgers absolutely needed him because of all of the nonstop injuries they suffered through this year. But it is a big blow. But the important thing is, we hope, our fingers should be crossed, that Brusdar will be back in time for the second half and for that more important postseason run. But again, yeah, big blow for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, he was just so plagued by injury. I mean, he had so many different things going on with him, but obviously, shoulder surgery is a big deal. So I think Blake Trinan, that signing perhaps becomes even more important. I would
Yeah.
love to see Tanner Scott in the Dodgers bullpen. I think that
Yep.
would be a huge get for them. I know he's going to come with a pretty hefty price tag, and I know you don't want to spend that type of money likely on relievers because they make you rip out your hair at night. I understand. You don't think still that this means a Joe Kelly reunion? You think the ship has sailed with the Dodgers and Joe Kelly?
You know what? That's perfect because I was going to go there. Look at that synergy going on right here, Alana. You're in my time, time. What do they call that? Time code or not?
I
Whatever.
am. I'm in LA. I'm in LA. What's up,
West
everybody?
Coast, and now we're thinking right there along the same lines. Yeah, I think if they're prior to learning about this, I was, this injury, this surgery, I would have said it's almost a foregone conclusion that Joe Kelly's not coming back. But now, knowing that he's older, he probably wants to stay close to home, close to his family. He's building this, crazy mega mansion out there in Riverside with his wife, or in the IE with the wife and the litter of kids they got going on there. So maybe he does take a team friendly deal to stay in LA, run it back one more time. Was not a major factor for the team this year. So maybe he can do something like we saw, not so much Dan Hudson, but like what we saw Blake trying to do with the Dodgers last year, take an extremely team-friendly deal, but something to stay close to LA, stay home, kind of pay back the team for the investment, and try to run it back. So Joe Kelly very much could be back in play, in my opinion. Did we lose you? I feel like we might have lost Alanna, or we lost me. So we're hanging out here. We're trying our best. Let's get into some comments while we try to get Alanna going again in the chat. Unless it was me. I got a lot of buttons here, guys, but we'll hang out. We'll have a good time. Chat, what do you guys think? Is this a Joe Kelly situation? BC says we got some buffering. We'll go to me for now. That's probably the smart play while I'm doing this. Let's see. Army Chow Mein, great name, by the way, says, asking, Dodgers were one of 20 teams scouting Do Young Kim this past week. Okay, were the Dodgers? I have no idea. I did not look into that. But, however, there is a chance that the Dodgers are in on literally everybody at all times. So if there is a player that is good, that is a potential signing, the Dodgers are 100% going to be in on that player in some way, shape, or form. And I think maybe we got Alanna coming back. There's a couple versions of Alanna in here. Let's see. Alanna, try to call back in again because it appears to still be remaining broken. I'm going to hang up on you, and we'll get you back in just a second. But guys, it's live. We'll have Mark Pryor joining us again in a little bit. Richie Flores in the chat saying Alanna is frozen in time. Ghost Bear, great comment here. Dodgers territory brought to you by Netflix. Hey. I'm not Mike Tyson, but I'll do whatever for $20 million. I'll say that much right there. Moving on, if we're going to trudge forward until Alanna pushes the rejoin button again, which there she is. The Dodgers did make a couple of depth signings this past week. We'll talk about them, and I think, Alanna, you are back with us now, so that's cool. Thanks.
Hello. Sorry about that.
Thanks for joining us. It's all good.
Where did I leave you hanging?
It's all good. I was about to move forward, and let's start talking about the depth signings that the Dodgers pulled off this week with Jarvis and, what is it, Jaques? How do we say this name?
I'm going to go with Jocks. I'm going to go with Joe Jock Peterson Jocks. Yes. A couple of minor league signings. Bob Nightingale reporting that left-hander reliever Joe Jocks, or we can call him Jaques. We need some time to learn this young man's name. He signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers. They've given him an invite to their big league camp. Love to see that. He pitched in 25 games in the bigs with the Boston Red Sox and Arizona Diamondbacks the past 2 seasons. So has had a cup of coffee, if you will, as far as the big league stuff is concerned. But that is one signing. So a left-hander reliever there. And then Justin Jarvis. That's 4 J's. Joe Jocks, Justin Jarvis. There's something to be said for that. Ken Rosenthal, of course, reporting that the right-hander Jarvis has signed a minor league deal also with the Dodgers, telling The Athletic. Jarvis is a 5th-round pick in the Brewers in 2018. He was traded to the Mets for Mark Canha in 2023. He split last season between AA and AAA, so a couple of young relievers perhaps. to see what they can do as far as the Dodgers bullpen is concerned. We'll see where they might fit. It's funny that we're already talking about spring training invites, and we just won the World Series a couple of weeks ago. So appreciate that. All right, so Mark Pryor probably knows a little bit more about these guys, and I believe that Mark is getting ready to join us here momentarily. Clint, if you can bring him in, is he?
Well,
Yeah, I think
first,
he's ready. We're
what we
gonna
got to do.
before we.
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna let you do this because this is a man product. So why don't you go ahead and throw to it?
Guys, well, we will be back in a moment after a quick word from AJ Przinsky, Eric Kratz, and Scott Braun about our friends at Manscaped.
FT fam, the holidays are creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, and we've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. It's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave.
Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code FAL20 for 20% off plus free shipping.
I wrote up a wish list of what I'm looking for in a modern shaver, and Manscaped nailed it. 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads for either the super smooth feel or the clean, manly stubble look. A precision lock for a more precise shave when you want it. Waterproof.
Oh, I messed up there. I was off.
I don't know if you can be more excited in that segue to welcome in Mark Pryor, Dodgers pitching coach, after our friends at Manscaped. Mark, you are a gem for taking the time to be with us. I appreciate you very much. Great to see you. Congratulations. You are a World Series champion once again. What was that moment like for you when you saw Walker Buehler throw that final out of the World Series, put his hands up here like you thought I was gone, look at me. And you're a World Series champion. What's going through your mind?
Well, first off, I appreciate the commercial. I don't know if that was a subtle, like, hey, you let your beard go too long in the World Series, or I just need to, get some extra grooming products. But yeah, no, again, Walker, yeah, he put his hands up, and I think, and he's mentioned it, there was moments this year where, he was kind of on the fringes, and him or, the club, fans, I'm sure we're all wondering, are we ever going to get to the point where he's able to go back and, kind of impose his will on opposing teams. And it was pretty special. I think, honestly, you go through the playoffs, it's 4 weeks. It's a grind. The intensity is like no other. And, you triple that, I think, just given the teams that we played, the Padres, the Mets, the Yankees. My first year in 20 being in the dugout, was obviously a little bit different given the situation and the climate with COVID and the bubbles. But the intensity of these games were real. And I think it's more of like a little bit of, you're so excited, but you are just, it's like a sigh of relief. Like, all right, we climbed this mountain that every team sets out in February to do. And we're the ones that made it to the top. And you're almost speechless for the beginning of it. And then you start seeing your staff, you see players, coaches, trainers, and you just realize how much you've done with them for the last 7 months. And it's just a shared excitement and a shared sign of respect. I don't even know how to articulate it well enough, but it's just, you look at everybody and you're just like, wow, we just did this. This is awesome.
Yeah, I watched the final out about 715,000 times. It's funny because we had John Hartung, the Sportsnet LA pre and post game host, on the show last week, and he said that he looked over at Oral and he was like, you know what? What about Walker Buehler as our closer? Does that ever cross your mind as far as that? I mean, are those conversations? I mean, obviously the guy's willing to do whatever it takes, right? He told you guys, listen, I can do this. Put me in, coach, type of situation. Do you think that as a possible future role for him?
I don't really want to get too far down the line. Walker has mentioned his previous relief appearances hadn't gone so well. So he's mentioned that numerous times over a number of years that was not something where he wanted to be. But given the state of, let's be honest, where we were at with our pitching staff as a whole, we were basically 3 starters through the playoffs with a couple bulk guys here or there. Our bullpen was shifting from series to series with injuries and guys getting healthy and not really knowing who we were going to have kind of between, Vesey getting hurt and then Phillips getting hurt, running a bullpen game, in that fourth game and then turning around and unfortunately Jack couldn't get very far. So we didn't have many options. And so, Walker had started to slowly starting to feel better and recovering quicker as we got into September and into October. So that was starting to be a good sign. And he woke up and he felt great that day. And I think as he's talked about, he mentioned it to our front office first. I didn't know anything about it, honestly, until the fifth or sixth inning, until I got a tap on my shoulder. It said, "Hey, Walker's, walking to the bullpen." And I just kind of chuckled because I didn't think that was an option. If even then it was less than 5%. But as the game unfolded, we were going to be running thin on pitching, and Blake stepped up with another, unbelievable heroic outing for him, and really picked us up and got us in a position where we could strike. And Walker happened to be the back guy, and I think it's fitting given what he's done as a Dodger, what he'd been through over the last couple of years, and specifically what he'd been through this year, all the ups and downs, and to be able to go out there and absolutely just carve, for 15, 16 pitches and close it out. I mean, it's, Freddie talked about that's the thing you dream of being in the backyard. Well, if you're on the pitching side, those are the things you dream of in the backyard as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of heroes in that World Series run, whether it be Walker stepping up, doing his best kind of Kershaw impression, unexpectedly going in relief, Brent Honeywell doing what he did on the bump, Ben Kasparius kind of being somebody, nobody really knew a whole lot about, but still pitching some big-time moments. How important is that to kind of have you get into the World Series, you get into the postseason, the roles don't mean anything anymore. Just go out there, get some meaningful outs. What does that mean for that group and for the organization to see so many dudes, in this case with all the injuries, sometimes kind of very random dudes, stepping up and putting together big moments that ultimately lead to, World Series trophy in 24?
Yeah, honestly, I think it just reiterates that there is never a blueprint for this. We've seen teams do it, with their bullpens. We've seen teams do it with their starters. And I think, honestly, it just really confirmed that playoffs is so much of it is you think something's going to happen or go one way going into it. And you got to be able to be nimble and adapt going through it. I think we knew going into it we weren't going to be deep. We didn't have the starters that the Padres had. We didn't have the starters that the Yankees had. And so we knew that we were going to be relying a lot on our bullpen, kind of a surplus of bullpen from a standpoint of carrying, 10 guys on there and knowing that they all had various roles, but could do anything from a short outing to a little bit longer outing. And then again, as we talked about earlier, is we had guys, Vesia goes down late, Phillips goes down late in the next series. We're adding guys left and right. We put two guys on the roster from the beginning, and Enriquez and Kasparius, who really hadn't a whole lot of pitched more, than a handful of innings, and a couple of those guys were in low A or high A ball earlier in the year. So, but they came in and provided impact and picked up some big outs. And so I think it was just a testament to, kind of their brotherhood, the way that they pull together. I know they're the dogs, as they like to refer to themselves at. But honestly, I think it was just our staff as a whole. Everybody knew that for us to win, we had to pitch together as a team. We had to pick each other up. We understood going in, we were going to take some games where they were going to be lopsided, and being okay with that because we knew that was going to help us to win the series. And at the end of the day was, how can we just give our offense a chance each and every night? It might not be early, but it might be middle, it might be late. But given the guys that we have in our lineup, those guys just knew we just got to give our offense enough time to put some points on the board. And they did that tremendously for those 11 wins.
Such an unbelievably selfless team. I mean, really playing, I know that's cliche, but playing, for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. Two-part question for you, Mark. How close were you guys, if at all, to having Shohei pitch in game 5 or 6 or 7, if necessary? And
zero.
What do you
I'll just
think
answer
about...
that, 0.
Okay, Okay, fair enough. We just want to get that out there. All right.
Yeah.
The 6-man rotation. Obviously, you have Shohei Ohtani, you have Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Obviously, it would be nice to have Roki Sasaki in this rotation. But even if you don't get Sasaki, okay, I don't expect you to speculate on free agent signings. What is your thought about a 6-man rotation? And do you think that's more of the game moving forward as far as the future of every staff?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question. The first one was easy. That was very simple. 6-man rotations can be good. I mean, we set out to do that this year, obviously with Yamamoto and his familiarity with the way he was pitching in Japan. That was, kind of a number one priority goal of ours. Like, let's get him, pitching once a week, or at the very least 5 days rest and pitching on that 6th day. We had Paxton earlier in the year, who we understood had kind of fatigued down the stretch the previous year, so we kind of wanted to give him some extra rest days in there, as well as Tyler Glasnow. We knew we could probably lean on him a little bit, but we knew that we needed to get him rest at the same time. So it was something that we had set out to do. It's not the easiest thing to do. You run into days off. You run into guys sometimes getting 7 or 8 days off. You might have to skip a guy. So there's a lot of nuanced parts of it. I think it's doable. The biggest issue is, do you have enough depth to be able to do that? Because if one guy goes down, what is the cascading effect down to the chain? Like, are you going to have to everybody all of a sudden pitch on regular rest when they haven't been doing it for maybe a month or 2 months? Do you have guys that are big league ready in AAA to come up and be able to do things? So it's something that takes a lot of planning in the moment, from day to day, and making sure everybody's on the same page on when they're going to pitch. But it takes a lot of planning, obviously, too, from your front office, roster construction, and making sure that you have that depth to fill, because you're going to run into a stretch, where there's going to be 15 to 18 games in a row. And can you do a 6-man rotation all the way through that, or do you need to spot and drop guys in? So whether or not it's the way it's going, I think the other thing, too, is if you're going to do that, we might have the advantage a little bit with Shohei not counting against us as a pitcher. But if you're going to do that, they definitely need to probably go deeper into games, because you're probably going to be carrying one less reliever in your bullpen to be able to pick up innings. So there's a lot of factors to it. I think there's some pros and cons to it. But I probably think it's maybe trending that way a little bit, but I'm not quite sure it's completely sustainable yet, in the way that, especially if they start trying to reduce pitchers on rosters again.
We'll call it best laid plans of mice and men. The hope is you can get there. The hope was kind of there at the start of this year, but hey, we all just witnessed this season. Ultimately, everything turned out well, but my God, the injuries, you guys had to have been worried who somebody upset somewhere along the way, because the baseball gods were not happy with the Los Angeles Dodgers this year. Another one to put you slightly on the spot, answer it to the best of your ability without getting a call from Andrew Friedman or Mark Walter or Lon Rosen or whoever. But a couple months back, Andrew Friedman was asked about the rash of pitcher injuries. It's not limited to the Dodgers, but he said in that, his quote was, we're going to look into it. We're going to kind of look at investigate what our pitching plan is, how we're bringing guys up through the system. What sort of steps do you even do to assess where the rash of injuries are coming from? Again, league wide, but where do you start, and what kind of steps are you guys taking, if you can speak to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question that's I think on everybody's mind, specifically if you're in the pitching game. It's not something that, one, it's an emotional thing. I mean, you never want to see anybody get hurt. Clearly, I have had personal experiences of what that can do, obviously to an individual, but how there is an effect on the rest of the team. And that means guys have to pick up more innings, and then it becomes a little bit of a domino effect, because now you're asking sometimes for other pitchers to do things that they're not quite ready. So there is as much as we talk about everybody in baseball being an individual and a team game, there's a lot of connections of how guys relate to each other because of what they do. Starters go deep, they give the bullpen a rest. Starters don't go get deep, the bullpen's got to pick up more. So it's kind of ebbs and flows through the course of the season. And as far as the injury is concerned, it's very difficult. I mean, we're talking injuries have been around for, a long time. I mean, even back in when I was playing in the early 2000s, we were dealing with injuries. I was dealing with injuries. Teams were dealing with injuries. And we've advanced so much in modern medicine and recovery, and we're still seeing, an exponential growth in injuries. And where is it coming from? It's hard to pinpoint because everybody's different. Are we going to start saying that velocity is the number one culprit? I'm sure there's some variables that for certain guys that is an issue. But clearly velocity plays in this game and it's very important. How much of it is, some of the scheduling? How much of it is now that we are pitching on 6 days rest? Are we guys throwing more with more high intensity throws more often than they had in the past when they were pitching on regular rest or every, fifth day, and they were taking, maybe a little bit of a break in between versus not feeling as fresh and as frisky. Are we pitching guys too late? Are we detraining guys and not pitching them enough? Who knows? Like the bottom line is there's never one answer for one person. And then there's obviously before they even get into pro ball, there's a lot of at the amateur level. How much of these guys had injuries before they even got to pro ball, and then they get put into the pressure cooker of professional baseball, throwing every single day. How much of that is just exposing pre-existing things that people were unaware of? As far as what we're doing to it, we're probably going to get together after Thanksgiving as a group, top to bottom, and start having these conversations and try to find out if there is anything that is common with the way we've been developing guys at the minor league levels and continuing through the big league levels. Is it something in our training? Is it something in, the types of pitches that we want to throw? And trying to see if we can find any common ground, because I think that the one thing is if you can find something common, then I think there's something actionable. What I don't think is actionable is basically what I just did, is throw out all these theories that are out there, but they're all unproven. And again, it might not be what hurt me doesn't necessarily mean is going to hurt, player B and C and D. And I think that's really the hard part is everybody has their own personal history. Everybody has the way their body moves and the way they've trained. Is it coincidence? Probably not, but it's still trying to find what is the actual common themes and then being able to act on them. And move forward in a very smart way, not just kind of like a reactionary way.
Certainly not one specific answer to all of the reasons. But Mark, for somebody that had their career shortened by injuries, which it bums me out because you were so much fun to watch, how do you make sure that you work with a guy like a Tyler Glasnow or anyone trying to get back from injury, that they don't come back too quickly to further exacerbate, the situation to keep him out even longer?
Yeah, tough. I mean, it really is tough. I mean, at the end of the day, they're not here if they weren't elite competitors, and competitors want to be on the field. They don't want to be, on the sidelines. They don't want to be rehabbing. I mean, we have obviously one of the premier competitors in this generation, or multiple generations now at this point, in Kershaw, and we saw what he was trying to do with his toe. He was just trying to get back out there. So those are hard conversations because you want a guy to push, you want a guy to get back. He can help the team. He wants to do it. And then in the same front, you're also trying to be like, hey, let's be smart because we do have time. A lot of times we do have more time than we think. We all feel that we're under a microscope when we're trying to get a guy back. And the player's like, I need to get back. And you realize, what's 5 days? What's 10 more days sometimes at the course of a season, knowing that can pay dividends in September and October. So those are hard conversations because there's not an answer to them. And you got to be able to read the person, read the personality. You got to listen to the medical people's opinion on if this is too fast or too slow. And again, it goes back to everybody's different and how they're able to heal. Everybody's different on how they're able to handle maybe some discomfort and push through it and be fine, and other people can't, don't handle the discomfort as well, and they shouldn't push through it because you're going to create other issues and compensation patterns and stuff like that. So it's really difficult with these guys because as I was, we all are who've played this game, we all want to be out there, and nobody wants to sit there and watch your teammates go out there and perform. It's fine for a week or two, but when you've been sitting around for a while, you want to get out there. So Speaking of Glass now, I mean, he did everything he could to try to get out there and be the best version of himself for us. But at the end, it just didn't make sense for him. And then I think we were talking about long-term issues. And I think that's where ultimately usually is where the hammer gets thrown down, is when your body's telling you like this is going to be something that could be very serious and long-term and not short-term. And that's usually what ultimately will make those decisions for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
As we're sitting here right now, if you don't mind expanding on that, are we at a point where the organization feels solid? Tyler feels solid that he should be full go for spring training?
Yeah, we do. I mean, he started throwing a little bit right after the World Series, started playing some catch. He went on a vacation, and when he gets back here, he's going to continue his throwing program. Should have a normal offseason. That's the plan right now, is to build up his throwing and his workouts, and then jump on the mound right after the first of the year and start ramping up for spring training. So that we feel good about where he's at right now. He feels good about it. He was feeling good through the playoffs, but obviously there was no reason to throw at the time. But feel good about where he's at right now.
All right,
that's all good news, and you're going to have a Shohei Ohtani in that rotation too. By the way, how excited are you about that? I mean, that's got to be something. Just watching the way the guy goes about his business, I mean, that's incredible. But to get him as a weapon in your rotation, that's got to make any pitching coach feel pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think we're all excited. You know, it was pretty remarkable to see what he did this year, and obviously hurting himself at the end was not ideal, but and so that might delay him a little bit. So we'll just kind of have to see how that rehab goes and how that affects kind of his throwing program building up. But yeah, I mean, look, this guy's, I mean, the guy's just special. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. What he did on the field this year, trying to rehab from Tommy John and then go out there and put on the display that he did offensively and running the bases was incredible. And then he, go right back at it the next day, do everything he had to do for his arm, throwing program, eventually got on the mounds. But to be able to compartmentalize is incredible. I mean, we have guys, I can even just reference myself, like being able to stay focused day in and day out on your rehab. And then you ask yourself to go out there and perform, at the highest level, if not, the top 3 players in baseball. Day in and day out with the other things that he was trying to do. It just speaks to his mental and emotional intelligence and how strong he is to stay focused on the task that he's at and stay present. It was pretty special. And do it with the, very low-key personality, enjoying every moment of the day, enjoying his throwing program, enjoying being in the cage, being in the dugout. Never once did you seem like this was, a burden or a stress. He just looked like he was out there and enjoying being part of a good team, a great team.
Yeah. Maybe 50 home runs, maybe 50 stolen bases, maybe 20 wins for Shohei Ohtani. We will see. Mark Pryor, you are so informative. We love having you on. Such a great interview always. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. Happy holidays, and let's run it back.
I appreciate it. Anytime.
All right. Mark Pryor, Dodgers pitching coach since 2020. We appreciate you very much. All right. Coming up, let's take a look at last licks, Clint.
Let's do it.
All right, I want to introduce you to Liberty. This is a very rough story. So Liberty was at the divorce shelter here in California, and unfortunately, they took her puppies away from her at just 2 months old. The puppies were exposed to parvo, but the shelter didn't bother to confirm that they had parvo. So they took her puppies and killed her puppies anyway. She was 30 minutes away from being euthanized herself. Goodry's Guardian and Healing Hounds Rescue were able to come together on a plan. Liberty was saved 30 minutes from being euthanized. She is parvo negative. She is healthy. She is very sad, though. She's continuing to look around for her puppies, but she's going to decompress, and we're going to get her a foster home, and we're going to get her healthy and happy and giving her the best life that she should have. So if you are interested in adopting Liberty when she is ready in a couple of months, please reach out, Goodry'sGuardian.org, or you can hit us up on our socials. We appreciate that very much. Yes, no, I think of that too. Liberty, 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 Liberty. We're going to change your name, by the way, because all I do is think of that commercial. So let me ask you this, a thought for the, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, on that dog, I look at this dog, and you remember that viral dog that's like, oh yeah, the maple kind, the bacon?
Yeah,
maple
Oh,
that's what she looks like. Or he, yeah. Oh, you're kidding me. Anyways, guys, adopt the dog just for that.
That dog just recently passed away, but was one of the most viral Instagrammed dogs ever. That was a great video. So please reach out about Liberty. We really appreciate your help. So I don't know if you saw this, Clint.
Yes.
Before we get into what's coming up on your channel tonight, so the 2025 Hall of Fame ballot has come out. There are 14 new timers, or first timers rather, to the ballot, 3 of which have played a portion of their career, some very little, some quite often, with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Russell Martin, Hanley Ramirez, Curtis Granderson. Are any of those Cooperstown bound in your mind?
No. You know, there's something you can make an argument for Curtis Granderson. Hanley Ramirez, the peak of his career was too short, and Russell Martin, people who've watched me for a long time know how much I love Russell the Muscle. I love Russell Martin deeply. If there's one player where I actually get starstruck, it's still Russell Martin. Still not a Hall of Famer. None of these guys will. Sorry, guys, there will not be any more Dodger Hall of Famers in 2025. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they're Hall of Famers. I think they're all, I still will never forgive Hanley for messing up Kershaw's perfect game. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, and that's not on the ballot. So, all right, what is coming up on your show tonight? All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas. What do you got?
Well, tonight, more Dodgers talk. We'll be talking more, rumors stuff. There's some Corbin Burns rumors. Apparently, the Dodgers are going to be more in, or reportedly more in, on Corbin Burns. So we'll be talking about that, taking some voicemails as well. Just having a conversation, off-season conversation with, a little more than a week till Thanksgiving. It's the slow season of the hot stove, guys. So hang in there. It will warm up. The winter meetings are, 3 weeks away. Things will get fun soon enough. So subscribe to the channel. Subscribe here, of course, to Dodgers Territory. We'll be back on Thursday. Alanna will not be here on Thursday, but I will be joined by our friend Scott Gearman of Dodger Blue. We'll be talking more Dodgers, taking comments, all that kind of stuff. So, Alanna, enjoy your vacation like you need it or something.
Yeah, I'm in LA, and I'm going back to Mass for like 10 minutes, and then I'm flying to Kentucky for Glendon Rush's 50th birthday party. Yes, that's the era I'm in. Old people friends parties. All right, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here on Dodgers Territory. Make sure you check in with Clint tonight on All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas. Clint and Scott Gearman back on Thursday. I will be back with Clint on Monday. Take good care, guys. Go Dodgers.
Okay, bye.